All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another coffee Q&A. Jay here. It is now, Monday, November 27th. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving last weekend. It was a nice weekend, I think. We had a little bit of rain yesterday evening, so not too bad. So how y'all doing? Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about a brewer called the Cafflano Kompact. And this is a brewer made by, South Koreans in South Korea. That is really a nice little brewer. It's interesting, the Cafflano is a company that's made a bunch of brewers that are relatively small in stature and size, and it makes it easy if you want to travel with them. And this is one of the ones that I think might be an easy traveling companion. And so I thought let's have a look at it. And it's part like French press, it's part aeropress, it's part accordion, right? It's got this thing where you're kind of this bellows system, and you're going to be pumping it if you want. So let's have a look at it. This is the Cafflano Kompact. As you can see here, it is this compression type of device, which gives it a little bit of pressure. I would think that it's less pressure-wise than the aeropress. Mom, how are you, man? Good to see you. How was your Thanksgiving? Hope it was well. And as you can see here, one new product of the show awards for something that I can't read. I think it was at the World of Coffee, I guess. I don't know, whatever. So this is a hot and cold brewer. So you can use cold water and hot water to brew the coffee. Because it's running under pressure, it's going to allow you that flexibility. So let's get into it. I've had this for quite a number of years, and I have used it quite a few times. But the nice thing is that it's got this little travel pouch. There's an instruction booklet in here. We don't really need that. Cafflano. Now, there may be updates. I think there are updates to this over the last few years. I mean, I probably had this for at least maybe pushing on 10 years now. So there's a little pocket in the pouch here, you can see. Baldhead, how are you, man? Good to have you. Good to have you. And so the whole thing just fits in this case, which I kind of dig the case. And then you've got the whole unit. Now it's kept closed because it's pressured, right? So the pressure seal is there. So if I twist this open and release the pressure, it then accordions out. So we'll take this off. So this is just a cap, as you can see. This is the metal mesh filter. You also will unscrew this a little bit tight. And this has a gasket somewhere. Oh no, this does not have, this has a gasket, but it's not an air. It's a little bit tighter on somewhere. There's a gasket, I imagine. But the main gasket is here for the pressure to hold it in, and maybe it's just tight enough so that it doesn't leak. And as you can see, there's a chamber in here. It accordions like a bellows. Nowadays they have these bellows on. I see them online. I see them on people like Hoon's videos where they have these bellows on the grinders, and I guess they're giving air pressure to push coffee through, which is a kind of a clever thing. And this is, if you can imagine this, but it's a little bit bigger. And basically you add your coffee, add your water. You can do hot or cold, and then you just kind of press it together. And as you can see here, there's little slots here to hold the layers in place, right? And you know what? It works fairly well. Like I've used it a few times, and it does work fairly well. Construction overall is nice. It feels solid enough. One thing, don't make a mistake. This does not spin. This part here does not spin. Nothing spins because of these tabs. And if you make it spin, you'll break the tabs, and then you'll have more problems. Now, I think even if you broke the tabs by accident, I don't think it's necessarily a critical. I mean, you could still make it work. It just keeps it all together, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some brewing with it. We're going to use our typical recipe to make 12 ounces, 24 grams of coffee to make 12 ounces of coffee. So we're going to, first of all, get some coffee. And I have some more churro. I just roasted some last week. Well, this is from last week's roast. You can see here it's a little bit of a darker. Our client last week asked me to make it just a little bit more developed. So I was like, all right. We brought this right just to beginning of second crops. We brought it right to the beginning of second crack. So it is a little bit darker than the last week's, the previous batch that we were working with here. This is just a sample I pulled off from the roast. All right, there we go. 24 grams. They wanted a little more development in the process, so I was like, okay, we'll give you a little more development. So as you can see, a little bit of oils on some of them, right? This one tends to be a coffee that there's a little bit of variance that I'll see in roasting. Like some will be a little bit slightly darker than the others from the same batch. What we're going to do is we're going to give it kind of a little bit coarser than our pour over here on the Compact R80. Why? I'm actually just kind of feeling it. I'm feeling this organically. I don't necessarily have a why or not. But I think that because we do have, it is going to be more of an immersion process and then a press. So we're going to do a little bit of both. A little bit finer than coarse, than fully coarse to get a little more extraction out of it, but also not too medium so that we're getting all the extraction because we are going to press it out, right? All right, so yeah, definitely a little bit more of a roasty version than the last one we were using. All right, so we're going to take our press, and the basic idea is that we're going to add the coffee, add the water, start the timer, let it time for 3 minutes with the cap, then place the door. We're going to put the cap on, then we'll put the cap on, and then press it out into our, it will fit on our brewer. All right, so we're going to do that. That's our planned procedure. So we're going to get our coffee here. I put this on here, tiered to scale. It would be helpful if you have like the aeropress funnel, right, to do that. Right, let's get that. Let's boil this water up a little bit more. So how was your weekend? Was it good? Anything happened? Anything interesting? What did I do this weekend? I really didn't do too much. Like yesterday, I got home. I was here for a little bit, taking care of some odds and ends, loaded up the truck to transport some stuff to the house. And then I started watching. I finished this series called Bodies on Netflix. They had like 2 episodes left, so I watched those. Turned out to be a really great series. I started out, it was kind of slow, and I was like, oh, what are we doing with this? But I've kind of stuck with it and then ground it out till about the 4th episode. And then from the 4th episode, it really got more interesting. And then for some reason, I decided to watch The Night Agent on Netflix. It's a 10-episode series. And as I was watching in the middle of the series, like maybe the 4th or 5th episode, there were some scenes that were happening. I was like, I've seen this before. And it turns out that I did watch it at some point earlier this year. But I guess I only watched that 1 episode. And then I watched this, and I was like, oh, man. And then Baldhead says, I spent too much money on Black Friday. I did not. I'm lucky. What'd you get? Let us know. Let us know what you got. All right, we're going to add the water. And let me reset this timer. I'm going to add a little bit of water first. We're going to let that bloom for 30 seconds. So about 85 grams, which is good. So once we add this, so as you can see here, it is getting a bit bulbousy. So we're getting a lot of blooming happening. That's nice to see. About 26 seconds. Now we're going to use the water flow. We're going to go real slow with the water flow and just kind of break it up a little bit, right, to hopefully get it to collapse. Now you could extend it more to get more volume, but then once you let go, it could collapse down and then to its natural state and then overflow. So be careful if you want to do that. So you got about 150 grams of water to it. Like here, I just kind of overlap the edge, which could be problematic for the seal. But I'm watching this Night Agent, and there's 10 episodes, and I started from the beginning, and like I said, halfway through, I was watching this one episode, and I remember I've seen this before, and so I guess I only watched one episode before, but I ended up binging the entire series, all 10 hours of it, yesterday. Until I was up till like 1 in the morning. I think I started, which means I started probably around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You know, they're about 45 minutes each, so not full hours, but man, it was a bit. So we're going to go to 3 minutes, and then we're going to press. So we're going to get our little pressing. We got a pressing device here. We're going to put this into the Yama. And you know, I remember I've been telling you guys that, oh, I'm going to get that fellow one. I totally forgot to include it with our last order. So when our last order came, I was like, oh, I got the Prismo, and I got some of our customers, and I was like, oh man, what the bonehead. But what did I get for Black Friday? For Black Friday, I got what did I order for Black Friday? Oh, I bought some headphones, the Bear Dynamic DT990 Pros, 250 ohms. So real nice headphones, for open back headphones for recording and monitoring things. So that's really what I'm getting. And then Baldhead says mostly car parts. Only coffee stuff was a halogen beam heater. Oh yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Which one did you get, the Akira or the Hario? Okay, so we're almost there. 2 minutes 50 seconds. So we're going to put the cap back on here. So this is the cap. As you can see, it's a metal mesh filter, and we're going to rotate that on here. Just be a little bit careful. Don't compress. Otherwise, if you compress, you know, it'll push it up and then spill out and just make it a little bit unpleasant for you. All right, so there we are. Now we'll take our thing here, put that on top. I'm going to turn that over. As you can see, there's a little bit of flow happening, right? I'm going to press that down. It doesn't really require a lot of force. I mean, it's a little bit resistive, but I think we can squeeze it out and we can do multiple presses. I think that's the nice thing about this. Like where the aeropress, you're really like pressed to do it in one flow. This one, you can go and like do multiple pumpings. Oh, Baldhead says you got to check. Okay, so there we go. As you can see now, it's really going by easily. So we've released all of the liquid. Oh, you see this little bit of, I don't know if you saw that. I could see it on my end, of like sediment-ridden liquid. So you don't want to do that. It is sediment heavy. Let's look inside here. It may not look like it's so much from this angle, but sorry for all the hunting. I had to check the settings of the autofocus, why it always hunts. Anyway, let's get away from that. Otherwise, some of you might start to puke. I might start to puke. So we've got less than our needed 350. So we're going to add the water to it to bring it to the right levels. There we go. So as you can see, there's our typical brew strength. And Baldhead says, you got a Chinese cup from AliExpress. Oh, nice. You know, as long as it gives the heat, I don't think it really matters. How much was it? Here I am sitting thinking around like, maybe I should buy one. I have 2. I do not need to buy one. Okay, so first thing I notice as I'm pouring this, the elixir looks a lot more cloudy than I'm used to. So how does it look to you guys? As you can see, it's definitely a darker, heavier brew. Like, right, like in the past week, couple weeks, it's been much lighter. But let's see. Let's see. Now it's going to be a little bit different, even though it is the same Peru Churumpampa, because the roast profile on this is taken darker. Yeah, you can definitely smell a little bit of that roastiness on the nose. A little bit heavier in the body, a little more chocolate, like darker chocolate, a little bit on the flatter side. Like in previous roasts and previous tastings of this coffee, when it's hot, you get a lot of bitterness. That bitterness is diminished, but there's also that kind of like earthy sediment layer that's on the tongue. Now we're going to see how it cools because it will change. I think it leaves a lot of sediment. And, we were somewhat fairly, on the coarser side of a medium grind. Maybe a coarser grind would go much better. Maybe the coarser grind would be the better choice. All right, so let's talk about cleanup. While cleanup for this is where I think the Cafflano, kind of stumbles a little bit, right? Now you've got all this coffee in here. Now you just basically will push it out, but as you can see, there's still a lot of coffee left inside. So it's not the easiest to clean, like especially if you're on the road. Do you really want to be dumping it out? And do you really want to be dumping grinds down the sink in your hotel room or wherever? So this is the part where I think this grinder or this brewing device really starts to stumble, is that it's not a simple or easy thing to clean. You do have to get in there and clean it out. And you want to do that, and you want to dry it before you recompress it and put it back in its pouch for the rest of your travels or whatever you're doing. I think that's the one part where it stumbles. It's relatively easy to clean this, I guess. You can just rinse this, but it is a little bit more difficult, and certainly more difficult to clean than the other Cafflano Classic that we had, the one that was all compact and with the grinder and the pour over device and the thermal cup. This one you have to bring everything else with you. So is it the best solution? I don't know. Depends on your situation. It is a more compact solution than the Classico, right? Or is that right? Yeah, the Classico. And then we have one more compact device we're going to look at. I don't know if we're going to get to it before our hiatus in December, but we've got a few more things to go through. Actually, I was planning on doing a review or just a video of making coffee with the Kova metal filter for the Chemex, but then I just realized this morning that I've already packed all those away and sent them away. So that's going to have to wait until we pick up after our hiatus. But we do have other coffees to try, so there's still a lot more to fill for the next 4 days. All right, so hopefully, what do you think about that? Any thoughts on this brewer? It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, the cleanup part's a little bit pain in the butt. It's cooled down a little bit more. Better. I mean, so I'm looking at this coffee right now from two different perspectives. One, from the perspective of what we've been doing for the last few weeks with this coffee in a lighter roast version that's giving us a little bit more of that energetic brightness, a little bit of juiciness, a little bit more expressiveness, versus this one where the client wants a coffee that's really accessible for a wide range of people. And with part of that was to take this coffee, take it a little bit further into the roast process. So instead of dropping early, closer to the first crack. We're going right into the start of second crack to get more of that sugar development, more of that heavier body coming out of it, right? So we want body, we want more sugar, we want more, a little bit more chocolate, a little more tone, right? So that those who want to drink it black can, and it's still very pleasant. It's a relatively pleasant cigar. I'm sorry, cigar. Relatively pleasant coffee, black, but is also a coffee that has enough oomph to stand up to cream and sugar for those guests who must have the cream and sugar in their coffees. So this is going to a client that has, offers like a lot of sweets and desserts for after dinner service, and that's kind of the purpose. So it all depends on what the intention is, right? If we're just looking for total expressiveness, I would go lighter like we did in the past. But if we're looking to fit a need, in this case, after dinner, desserts, something heavier, something a little bit more to cap off your meal, something to pair with dessert, something that can stand up to milk and sugar or cream and sugar, that's definitely more of this. Baldhead says under $100, so I'm not holding up, but really, I think it'll be fine. I think that $100 from AliExpress for a burner, that should give you a nice quality product that's going to last. And especially you're not really in a cafe setting, so you're not pounding on it, for 100 drinks, or even 50 drinks a day, or even 20 drinks a day. So I can't imagine that it would be problematic. All right. Well, there it is. The Cafflano Kompact. Not a bad brewer. I think it does have its issues as far as cleanability on the road, but it's very compact, comes with a nice case, makes fairly decent coffee. Like it brews well. It's just a matter now of selecting your grind, brew ratio, and time. That's really, and that's true for kind of any brewing device, is how you want to approach it. And we're always trying to approach it with the same recipe so that we can at least have some semblance of consistency from barista or from brewer to brewer. Baldhead says, sounds like the aeropress. Nothing to. Well, let's say that. Let's compare that to the aeropress. Oh, speaking of which, that reminds me. Let us compare that to the aeropress. The aeropress is cleaner, right? Because of this filter, the aeropress is naturally cleaner. Now that you mentioned that, let us have a look before. Let us have a look at our aeropress filter and see if it'll fit. Maybe. It might fit. It won't fit perfectly, but will it fit? Whoops. You might be able to, so it is about the same diameter. So you might be able to get it to seat. The question is going to be, will it seat? I guess if you wet this, you could seat it onto the actual filter holder. Right, so we could do something along this line, right? Seat that in there. And then, of course, this won't be here, but hopefully that'll stick. And then you can screw it on. So there may be a possibility of doing the aeropress filter with the Kompact, but that's going to require a little bit more finesse, and you're going to have to carry the aeropress filters with you. Do you want to do that? There is space, though, in this case to hold accessories like here, like you can see here. So you could put like a little bag of coffee, ground coffee, if you want to grind it before you leave, or put some aeropress filters or something like that in there. So that could be a possibility. But I agree with you there, Baldhead. You really can't beat the aeropress for the clarity. The clarity of the aeropress is definitely easier to achieve than with this. And if you wanted to have the Kompact and get that extra clarity, it's going to require a bit more effort. Do you really want to have that effort? If you own an AeroPress already, is it worth it? Probably not. All right. I guess that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you spending another morning with us here on the Coffee Q&A. Like as we've talked about before, we are moving our studio. Well, we're closing this roastery down and eventually going to move to a new roastery where we will set things up again. So I'm going to, because we've got a lot to do before the end of the year, our deadline to be out is December 31st. So we are going to take a hiatus from our daily live stream so I can start tearing this place all apart. We will resume. Well, we will run through Friday this week. So we'll have 4 more episodes after today. And then we're going to take our hiatus and come back hopefully before the beginning of the year or at least early in 2024 for the daily live streams. We'll still have videos coming out as soon as I tear out all of the edit studios and move that to a place where I can edit again. Then we'll pick up on those. But all right. So thank you very much. Bald Head, Mom, good to see you. Hope everything's well. And all of the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. And we're back in tomorrow morning. Have a great one.